if you have any comments or want to ask any questions, you can click on chat. If you don't know, in most cases, the chat should be at the bottom of your screen. You just click on it and you can type. And if we have time at the end, Beatryce will be able to answer any questions, take questions. So if not, she will make sure that she answers each of your questions directly at a later time. And if anyone is joining us on the phone, of course, make sure your volume is adjusted so you can hear us, but we aren't going to be able to see you. So welcome to an intimate hour with Beatryce, both here in person and on Zoom. This is a charitable event so that now a percentages of book sales from today will be donated to the food and fridge pantry outreach and also the Senior Saturday meal outreach programs of the Church Without Walls, MCC United Church of Christ in the Valley. We share our thanks to our host, the Reverend Dr. Pat Langos, who's the senior pastor here at the MCC Church Without Walls, and to our wonderful author, Beatryce Ruby. To donate to their outreach programs virtually, you can access their website, mccuccv.com. And for in-person guests, there is a basket in the back somewhere, and we do accept coins. I am Judith Day, your event moderator. We have with us our guest host, the Reverend Dr. Pat Langos, senior pastor here, and we also have with us our author, Beatryce Ruby. And I want to thank the talented team of skilled technicians. The keyboard and flute interpretations of today are by Kay Gardner and Mary Watkins. So now, settle into something comfortable to munch and sip, relax, and enjoy our intimate hour with Beatryce. For those who, I have one more housekeeping announcement to make here. Sorry about that. There are perks for those who purchase No Sweeter Touch online. They will get free shipping and handling and 2 free mementos for every book purchased for both virtual and in person. There is a 5% discount on multiple orders of 9, a 10% discount on multiple orders of 10 to 20. There's a bulk rate on large orders for your organization, reading clubs, sociology, other classrooms, senior on-site centers, libraries, public libraries as gifts for loved ones, and associates for any program or audience. For those who are seeking a personalized autograph in your books, be sure to count your characters so that you have up to 60 and spell the words so that they will show up the way you want them to appear. To do this, you can go to the website, www.brubycreative.com. That's www.brubycreative.com, and it should be showing up on the bottom of your screen. You can click on Order Directly from Author to access the autographed book form, and be sure to complete all of the required fields. So, now, about the book. The heart is a vulnerable yet restless hunter. In a world where the worship of youthfulness obscures the vibrancy, creativity, and passion of maturity, the untold story of love's continuum finds a forum in this timely and wonderful love story. No Sweeter Touch brings forward the story of a love whose time has come and come again. In this unique and fascinating love story, Beatryce Ruby seizes the creative space to develop a diverse group of characters into a literary amalgamum. The story builds to form a cohesive and appealing account of life gone right after abject and inglorious beginnings. There is romance, intrigue, treachery, and hilarity. There is humility and grandiosity. Compiled to entertain, inspire, and to enlighten the reader, there are trials and triumphs to balance the ups and downs. An engrossing love story, No Sweeter Touch, follows the vivacious widow, a celebrated interior designer, and the introverted only child, a renowned environmental engineer, of the late Professor Barton Reeves. Through their evolving relationship, the grieving widow and child discover an astonishing new paths of romance and redefine their family ties in shocking new ways. Rising from bittersweet childhoods of parental loss and absence, they miraculously manage to carve out lives of triumph and accomplishment. They are redeemed by devotion to each other and by a close-knit family of supporting characters. The central characters evolve in ways that command the reader's attention, and characters will leave readers reminiscing and wanting to be part of their lives, of the characters and with whom they identify on so many levels. Twists and innuendos add spice and intrigue to the story in ways that grab the attention and curiosity of the reader, who will wonder about the outcome of uplifting stories and who will be loath to lay the book down when the story comes to an end. The story makes way for the development of future stories that define color and bring clear focus the lives of past characters, of current characters and their origin, and of further characters whose lives cross at intersections. As readers progress in the unfolding of the primary story, situations will arise that whet the reader's curiosity. The wonderment will not go unanswered, as this is but the beginning of the romance, intrigue, treachery, and hilarity. There is much more to come as the readers continue in subsequent volumes. Think of the missed opportunities when you wanted to say just the right thing at just the right moment. Think of the times when your heart was filled to overflowing, but your words could not pour. Take pleasure in reading those unspoken words from your heart within the pages of No Sweeter Touch. Feel the warmth and recall the memory as if it were your own. This story will rekindle the desire for new moments of adventure and exploration. Readers will be reluctant to stop reading No Sweeter Touch and will be anxious to continue the story in its tantalizing new settings. Now, a little bit about the author. Let me introduce again the Reverend Dr. Pat Langois, Senior Pastor of MCC United Church of Christ in the Valley, the Church Without Walls.
Thank you so much. Doesn't that sound like an incredible book? I can't wait to read it. Yay! Well, here's just a little bit more about its author, Beatryce Ruby, this wonderfully fabulous woman sitting to my right. Beatryce was born in Florida and lived there until her late teens. She then answered the call for a westward adventure and moved to California to attend university. Even though she lived most of her adult life here in California, she has also pursued rewarding careers, and matriculated in several regions of the United States. Ruby has been an international bed and breakfast operator in Alaska and an English teacher in California. She has survived a hot air balloon crash in the Mojave Desert, an over-the-cliff and down-the-mountain auto crash in the Tehachapi Mountains, and a ski crash at Devil's Head, Wisconsin. I'm really glad that God had something else in mind for her to survive these things. I'm not letting her out of our sight. Now, when enjoying a more tranquil life on terra firma, she writes engrossing adult stories, ruminative poetry, arresting short stories, and fanciful children's stories, and inspirational vignettes. Receiving her BA from California State University, Los Angeles, studying the Romance languages and linguistics at UCLA, she completed her teacher training through the University of San Diego. Her teaching assignments included kindergarten, elementary, and adult career education. She also served as a seminar leader in private industry for nearly 2 decades. From the idyllic rural classroom to the drama-fueled suburban teaching space, from the high-rise corporate conference room to the crowded spaces of remedial learning, Ruby has navigated with ease and welcomed the enlightenment found in every meeting. From the quiet rural southeastern perch that is now her home, She observes the kaleidoscope beauty of nature and the occasionally madding crowd. From these, she derives her inspiration for new stories and fresh poetry. And so we wanted to ask a little bit of questions of you. May we do that? I think we can.
You may.
I think we can. I always like to ask permission. So Miss Ruby, so why did you write this story? Let's start there.
Well, I felt compelled to write a tender, romantic story with characters who were seasoned and mature.
Yeah.
And I wanted to formulate a story in which mature passion was cast as incendiary as youthful passion. And this story was my vessel.
That's amazing. I don't really have to ask, but I will. What was your inspiration?
Well, as a writer, I like to observe people and nature. And one of the observations that I make that absolutely grabs my attention is when an old, I mean really old, couple shows affection to one another. Whenever I see that, I start devising stories that may or may not apply to the people I'm looking at, but anyway, it sets my thoughts in that direction to conceive a lovely story based on enduring affections.
That's beautiful. So I would venture to say this really then isn't a linear story.
No, it isn't. I don't think life is that way. You have to go back frequently to get a better grasp at where you are in the moment, and even to formulate what you're going to do with your future.
Excellent. And so, what were your motivations while you were writing this romance novel?
Well, it was character-driven. I have ideas about how I'd like to build a story. But once I began to write the story, the characters sort of pushed me into different directions. I was glad to follow in this story. It was an interesting project.
You thanked them for coming into
I
your
do.
mind
I do.
so that we could enjoy them. So the other question, of course, is, did you model these characters after anybody that you know?
No, nary a person. It's truly fiction, but I enjoyed the story and the characters. Yeah, so.
Excellent. And I'm certain that you will enjoy it as well.
So Beatrice, I think I lost my mic again. Oh, we're good. Okay. So the big moment that we've actually been waiting for, Beatrice will now delight us with her readings from her book, No Sweeter Touch.
Well, thank you very much. And for our virtual audience, make sure you're relaxed and comfortable and have something close at hand to nibble and sip as we begin. One more item. I'd like to give a sincere shout out of thank you to our former moderator and program director, Christy Martinez, who had to leave our service because of dire illness to her spouse. And she has taken the time to be with us today in this adventure, and we want to thank her for the service that she did give us and to wish a speedy and full recovery of her spouse from this serious illness. So now, let's sample some of the wares in the passages of the book. In Passage 1 will briefly review how the pervasive absence of an essential character weighs heavily throughout the book. Mother Naomi had been killed by a drunk driver when Callista was 10 years old. At the time, the hurt was so deep that Callie felt she would surely die herself. After that tragic loss, Aunties Marnie and Bucky had been her stand-in moms. Daddy Bart seemed to bury himself in his work more and more after Naomi died. Callista wanted to roll up into a ball, hide in a closet, and leave elementary school. It wasn't that she did not have a loving relationship with Barton Reeves, but he was always so sad and distracted when they spent their time together after Naomi. They were wounded. A vital appendage of their family had been lost on life's battlefield. Their home was so full of the emptiness of Naomi. Her absence hung in each room like dusty cobwebs from fallen ceilings. All the pictures and paintings of Naomi that Barton had around the house only reminded Callista that her mother, the real woman, was gone forever. There was no laughter and literally no music in the house any longer. The grand piano stood as a weighty reminder that Naomi's lithe, chestnut-colored fingers would no longer caress it. Neither Bart nor Callie could listen to CDs or MP4s or watch videos of Naomi's concert works without tears and sad recollections of what had been. They began to spend more and more time at the auntie's home to escape the emptiness of spaces without the vibrant and lyrical presence of Naomi. Finally, they moved in with the aunties, and Bart rented the family home to a couple on the faculty at his university. Passage 2, Introduction. It helped to have a close understanding, empathetic friend in life, especially for Callie, the introvert, now an adult. David and Callie had discussed what Callie and Miriam would be talking about. Anyway, somewhat of a dress rehearsal, but Callie still felt ill-prepared. What Callie did not know was that David had also discussed their plans with his longtime friends, Marnie and Bucky, his confidants. After all, who could go wrong discussing relationship matters with a couple that had been together for 55 years? In the interim, Miriam had downsized and had taken a historic house near downtown Ventura in an area of trendy shops and restaurants. Her new place was on a hill that overlooked the Pacific Ocean through a stand of eucalyptus and olive trees. The pictures of the place were stunning, as Miriam had restored much of the grandeur of this Queen Anne-influenced mini castle that she referred to as a cottage. It had the obligatory turret, and the colors Miriam had chosen to paint the exterior reminded Callie of the multicolored Victorian houses in San Francisco. You should know that Miriam was the second wife, now the widow, of Callie's father, the departed Professor Barton Reeves. Callie admired the understated classiness of Miriam's carriage and presentation. Miriam was always meticulously dressed, yet never ostentatious. While ebullient and almost brash, she was never flamboyant in her presentation of self. There was always a delicately maintained balance. Callie admired that in Miriam. She was a very accomplished woman in her field and a very present friend when Callie needed it. So David and Callie had practiced dialogue for Callie's much anticipated meeting and life-altering conversation with Miriam. When Miriam and Callie were finally together, the practice sessions were not really necessary at all. Callie closed her eyes to savor the moment, decode the feelings, acquaint herself with her body's reactions. When she did, Miriam kissed her clavicle, her chest, her shoulders, then feather-kissed her mammae. They both quaked and nearly lost their delicate balance. Callie opened her eyes to the top of Miriam's head and lifted her languid arms to Miriam's cheeks, urging her to stay and to continue, to become more intense, to explore more fervently. Miriam did. Then Callie did. They became a matched pair of reciprocating, reverberating hands, mouths, arms, and legs. They drank in the sight of each other and took great pleasure in what they saw and great comfort in what they knew to be the uncontestable acceptance of each other. Miriam gently drew Callie into an embrace that was unmistakably that of a lover's ardor. Her arms fully enfolded Callie's form. Callie reached for and held onto Miriam, and both lost their fingers in each other's tresses. There was that telltale tremor from Callie again. This vibrato set Miriam's hair on end as she leaned in and kissed not the cheek or the forehead of Callie. This time it was as if she were resuscitating Callie's heart life with her own tender, nurturing, loving reassurance of intimate forevers. Callie's lips met Miriam's and locked themselves there in rhythmic reverie. They clung to each other and lost the sense of time and space. They swayed to the symphonic Latin melody, tiptoeing up the staircase to them. Passage 3, Introduction. The couple has now settled into an exploratory new normal. Miriam was sure that she liked more sex than did Callie, but Callie was multiples more intimate in her contact with Miriam. How's that? How could that be? Callie was constantly in touch physically as an expression of affection and devotion, but her actions did not always take place as a preamble to romping in bed. Miriam adored being touched up by Callie all the time. Just in passing by in a room, if Callie were close enough, she would reach out and touch Miriam in some way. Callie touched Miriam tactilely. She touched her with tender words. She touched her with love notes hidden in places untold. The Callie memorabilia chest was filling rapidly. She touched Miriam with sudden outbursts of love songs. Callie was an inveterate romantic. This was riveting to Miriam and kept her in nearly a constant state of arousal for Callie. There was never a time that Callie wanted Miriam that Miriam was not ready and willing, yet there was no desperation urgency about anything they did with each other. Callie made vacuuming the floor an intimate experience for them. Callie knew that Miriam did not particularly like this chore, but she did it out of necessity at their condo. At some moment during this chore, Callie would always come up softly behind Miriam and gently touch her shoulder or enfold her waist. Miriam would drop and stop for a moment, and Callie would hug her, remove the dust chamber, dump it, return it, give Miriam a hug or kiss, and give Miriam a word of thanks. Callie made such a tedious task tolerable. Callie did not enjoy doing laundry, yet she had shared with Miriam that whenever she did it, she thought of how fresh the linen smelled for them after each wash. Callie had said that the linens wanted to please Miriam's senses with their freshness. Callie had also said that retiring on the fresh linens was like snuggling against Miriam's bare body after bathing. Callie always remembered Miriam's fondness for the fragrance of Hawaiian florals. Miriam understood this to be just another way that Callie caressed her. Also, she knew that Callie knew each time she did this that Miriam knew what Callie was doing. There were those intimate intentions caressing Miriam yet again. Miriam understood more clearly than ever the separation between intimacy and sex. One could have sex without intimacy or intimacy without sex. One could have either or both, but they were definitely not the same. Passage 4, Introduction. Just another evening together as Miriam returns from work. The door swung open and an exuberant Miriam swept in, attaché on shoulder, food in hand, free arm enfolding Callie, lips open for a kiss. They did, sweetly and briefly, as Miriam relinquished the food to Callie and rushed off to the bathroom. Callie heard the thud of Miriam's attaché on the bedroom floor as the door closed to the bathroom. Callie smiled. Miriam yelled through the door that she was going to get into something more comfortable before coming to the table. She also said that she had 1,000 things to discuss with Callie. "Okay, call me if you need any help in there," Callie teased with a smirk. "Funny girl," Miriam retorted. Now the dining room table is all set and the food divided and ready to be consumed. Tonight, Callie decided to use Miriam's vintage, imported Japanese chopsticks. There was usually a backstory to many of Miriam's acquisitions. According to Miriam, her then paramour ran an import-export business. Benjamin spent a lot of time in Asia and brought the chopsticks back to her as a gift. He was somewhat of a braggart and had boasted to Miriam at the time that he had acquired them for a haggled-down price of $2,000. Supposedly, the value was somewhere near $5,000, for the 10 chopsticks he had acquired. This man had 2 favorite nephews who always called him Uncle Ben. Whenever the women had the chopsticks, they would say that they were having Uncle Ben over for dinner. Those were the lean days with Benjamin. A much younger, much less worldly Miriam was operating as a sole proprietor under the fictitious business name of Miriam's Menagerie. Once Uncle Ben was out of her life, she investigated the value of her Kabazaku cherry bark chopsticks for herself. She discovered that the true value for a pair of them was about $12. So Braggart Ben was either a fool or a liar. Perhaps both. Callie heard Miriam exit the bathroom and begin to say that she was going to put on. Then she paused. Wow, is this an invitation on the bed? I wholeheartedly accept. Then Miriam reversed the suggestively placed clothing Callie had laid out. She put on Callie's favorite old nightshirt and saved the siren's frock for Callie. It seemed so fresh and enticing. Did something catch your eye on the bed, my love? Callie asked with playful confidence. You know it did. I'll be out in a flash. Miriam placed her outer clothing of the day across the gold leather Scandinavian bedroom chair. It was of dark stained varnished wood with a mantis-like rear leg stance that supported curvaceously slim upflung arms. The cushions were freely mounted and ever so comfortable. She donned the nightshirt and stepped unceremoniously into the dining room where Callie was waiting and anticipating Miriam's arrival in the siren's mesh frock. Miriam, you have on the nightshirt. Yes, my darling, and you will have the siren's frock for the night. For a lot more complex characterizations, intrigue, romance, and good reading of a fully developed story, buy and read your very own copy of No Sweeter Touch. The clarifying sequel will follow this year. For the in-person audience, we have a selection here for you while the supply lasts. And for our virtual audience, Judith will tell you what to do.
First of all, let us give Beatrice a round of applause for those lovely readings.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So you're so welcome. Well, now, so, right. So remember that there is a percentage of today's sales will go to the, make sure I get this correct, the Fridge and Pantry Outreach and Senior Saturday Meal Outreach programs of the Church Without Walls here at MCC Church. All you need to do is to either virtually go to the website and order your books at the www.berubycreative.com. To donate to one of these charities, go to the mccuccv.com website to go ahead and make your donations, or again, you can make a personal donation here at the church. Just to remind you, for those who want to order books virtually, they will come with free shipping. And also, Beatrice has provided 2 free mementos for every book purchased, either virtually or in person, correct?
Right, but when you're ordering virtually, please do so when you enter the website from the order directly from the author.
Right. So you click on the order directly from the author section and then complete that out. And then you will get those. So, and then there's also a discount of 5% on multiple orders up to 9, and 10% discount on multiple orders of 10 or 20, and bulk rate for the large orders. So with that, if we have time, do we have time for some questions? I don't know if people have questions, either here or virtually. Yes.
The book has such details of such a variety of subjects: gemstones, furniture, clothing, geology, geography, all kinds of climate change. Are you really that knowledgeable, or did you have incredible research to do?
Absolutely, it was my research. Every time one of those characters gave me an idea that I needed to write about, I had to research so that there was accuracy filtering through the fiction. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, good.
Is there another question from the audience?
Or the virtual audience?
Or the virtual audience?
None. Okay.
Okay. So with that, yes.
They have a question.
How long did it take you to write it?
8 months.
And when is the next
the
sequel of this coming out?
The sequel will be out before the end of the year. I'm looking to the fall, but because I'm working on other very important writing projects also, it may be delayed until the winter, but my goal is for it to be published in the fall.
And it'll be out in time to buy Christmas presents, right?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
that's my hope. Yes.
Beatrice, if I could ask, when did you start writing?
When I was a child.
Really?
Mhm. Yes, actually, when I entered university at the age of 17, my major was creative writing, English for creative writing at Cal State U. Well, when we had visiting professors who were authors who would come in to lecture, they all looked like homeless people. So I was a little frightened. I thought, I better change my major so that I can get a career, you know. So that really is what I did. And for all of those intervening decades, I'd been writing short stories and poetry, and I started a couple of novels. They put me to sleep. So now is a good time, and I think I'm ripe for the writing.
Another question, yeah, sure.
Tell us something about some of your children's books, please.
Oh, well, my children's books have main characters, the protagonists, that is, who are animals.
Oh.
And they are superhero environmentalists.
All right.
We need some of those here, please.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
And that is a collaboration. I am not the driving force or the idea person behind this. I'm simply the scribe. Yeah. Yes.
Paul would like to verify. He says, is this the first in a series of books or just one sequel?
I didn't get that, Jeff.
Is this the first in a series of books or just one sequel?
Oh, yes. No. This book will terminate with the third book. This story will terminate with the third book.
All right. So a trilogy. Mm-hmm.
And on one of your little mementos, you will see the titles of the two books that
Oh,
are
all
coming.
right. So since I know that you plan so far ahead in your life, a lot of times, so are you thinking beyond this series on what you might want to do next with your next project?
Well, absolutely. I have 4 books of poetry and short stories that are lined up for publication also. And I enjoy writing, and I mean, look at all the decades that went by that I didn't really have time to pursue my true love, as it were.
Right.
It's never too late.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
what
you. Thank you.
I honestly say that. I mean, what's really fabulous about this, Beatrice, is it's very inspirational that, you know, for others of us who are like, you know, can't find an extra minute in a day, that it's like, don't worry, because it's never too late.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I appreciate that as an inspiration.
And I also think that it's very timely and important that your characters were older, that they, you know, had their lives, they have accomplished what they wanted to accomplish in their lives, and yet they found each other, and it's, I think that's very inspirational. As you say, we're so youth-oriented in our culture that I think it's, there's a lack, really, a big black hole there of love and intimacy in maturity.
True. But I might add for the audience, both virtual and in person, that there are characters throughout the book who are children, young adults, middle-aged adults as well. So, there are other people besides our seasoned lovers in the book.
Well, thank you all for coming to this wonderful event. We were delighted that you're here. Thank you to those of you who are virtual with us. We really appreciate your attendance as well. And thank you again, Reverend, for hosting this lovely event for us. And thank you, Beatrice, for being so kind to do this book reading for us
Thank
today.
you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and to let folks know, there is a fabulous reception that Terry Lynn has prepared for folks out on the in the patio. So please purchase your books from Beatrice, and then join outside in the garden. So thank you.
Thank you all very
let's
much.
give her-